talked a lot this season about kind of going one game at a time, but is there a little bit of this game being a little more fulfilling, given that UNLV took 2 games from you guys last year, and then what happened 2 weeks ago?
Well, not necessarily, not really. I mean, that was a disappointing loss, but I think for us at this point, every game for us is critical down the stretch in terms of the things that we want to do overall for a program. But no, I mean, our battle cry was not, hey, let's stick it to these guys because we've lost. You know, it wasn't. It's a midweek game. It was very important in the overall big picture, and so that's what our focus was. So I was really pleased with how solidly we played tonight, and a good way to build on in the weekend.
Have you been happy to see, like, since that game in Vegas, you guys have played really solid baseball since then, and that wasn't like a bad turning point in the season, it seems like?
No, you know, it goes back to that stuff we talked about the trust factor, trusting the guys in the locker room, trusting the guys in the team. And, you know, there wasn't a lot, those of you that made the trip, I mean, I think you remember, it was like, I don't even know what to say about this. It's like, there's not a lot to say about it. It's one of the craziest things I've ever seen, ever been a part of. So that's an anomaly. And, you know, we trust those guys, the same guys that were kind of a part of that thing, came in tonight and did exceptionally well. So it's just one of those crazy things. If you're around this game long enough, I remember I was talking to Pat Casey, because I think Oregon State was rolling in after that. I was like, dude, you wouldn't believe. He goes, no, I wouldn't believe. I've been around the game a long time. I've seen about everything. So it just was a crazy game. But, you know, this is a good game for us, not because it's UNLV and nothing again against them, but we needed to play. You know, I want to see us play a clean baseball game in all facets, and I think we did that tonight.
Is this kind of what you wanted to do with the pitching staff tonight? Not let anybody build up. I mean, you had to take Tolman out, of course, but other than that, is that kind of how you wanted it to play out?
Yeah, we wanted to get the guys, some of the main guys, some work, and hopefully, you know, not in some high-stress situations. So it actually played out perfectly for us to give them some competitive innings, but also be fresh for the weekend. It was perfect.
And in the 4-2 part of the game, I thought your team did a good job then of adding on, you know, in the 6th, but then they kept adding on after that to kind of make sure that what happened 2 weeks ago wasn't going to happen again.
Yeah, and that has to happen. I mean, you know, the thing is strive for, and you may not always score, but you don't want to give at bats away. And I think, you know, we talked about that as a teaching point the last game, and quite frankly, Sunday's game, even at Utah. It was like, don't ever give it a bat away, because you don't know. It could be the AB in the 4th, it could be the AD in the 1st, the AB in the 9th. It doesn't matter. Like, you grind them all out, and then we'll sort it out after 27 outs. And so I thought we did a really good job of staying locked in, not getting comfortable even with the lead as we had in the middle innings. We kept having good at-bats and ultimately got some runs out of it.
It seems like every time Malik is at the plate, there's guys on. Did it take time for his approach to evolve to understand how to hit in those big situations?
No, because that's what he is. I mean, that's why we moved him there, because his approach doesn't change. I mean, he gives you a good at-bat, the majority of the time, easily the majority of the time. And so the thought, you've got guys that are going to get on base, so we don't need the home run, we don't need the gapper. If those guys are on base consistently, which they're going to be if you look at their averages and on-base percentage, all you need and all we need for the team is a quality at bat out of that 4 spot. And, you know, so to me, it was a logical move. It was an easy move. You take a guy that gives you great at bats, plug him in 4 as opposed to 6 or 7, whatever it was. And if he does that, doesn't change, he's going to drive guys in, which is what he's been doing.
With Blake, how big is it for him sort of to get out of that jam in that 5th inning and then also have a scoreless inning?
No, that was huge. I think he every time he's growing up more. I mean, and you know, that was big for him tonight. He came up big for us in Utah too, so it's nice to see him put it together back to back. And albeit he's still a youngster out there, but every time he can do that, it's just one more notch that he can add. And I think the more comfortable he gets, and as he continues to develop even some of his secondary stuff, he's going to be more of a weapon for us. But You know, right now, we know what he's gonna give us. It may not be the accomplished Alec Marsh at this point, but he's getting better and better each time out, and more comfortable, as witnessed by tonight.
Is this the level of play you thought you could get from this infield when you first got them all on campus last year, especially the way they're turning these double plays in the big spots they have?
Yeah, I mean, it just, we've talked about it, you know, I'll beat that horse that's laying on the ground. You know, they grow up, and, you know, we've said it, it's like we know we have good players, but you're gonna get inconsistent play, you know, and I'll use a case in point, and I don't know why I did this, but I was looking at, well, because we had kind of a debacle at Utah a couple years ago. I think we had a 7-run lead or something like that. Ended up losing the game, and I just, out of curiosity, I was like, I want to see who was in that game. And I went back and I looked at the old box score, and lo and behold, there's our Friday night guy who's totally dominating college baseball right now. I think his stat line was, don't quote me on this, but it's when my man is in the back, but it was something like 1 inning, a gazillion hits, and a bunch of runs. I mean, you know, but he was a freshman at that time. So point being, guys grow up and they mature, and yes, this is the infield that, you know, look at them. They're the same guys. The only thing that's different is they're playing more comfortably now, and that's what happens.
Because I don't know if we'll be able to talk to you again this week. Do you have an update on RJ's?
Yeah, I think he'll be ready to give us something this weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, we anticipate that he'll be back out there this weekend. I'm not quite sure, you know, what the role will be, but you know, we're going to be careful with him. But I would say, you know, 40 to 50 pitches probably. So whatever situation that calls for, you know, we'll use it accordingly. But he'll be ready to go.
Is that kind of like similar to what you guys did with Boyd last year?
Bring him back, and you know, he's a hard worker. He's going to want the baseball. So, but we're going to be smart with it, throttle it back, because the way we're looking at this is, you know, we want to win the war, and you know, this weekend's a battle. So we want to make sure we have him for the long haul.
Obviously, up next for you guys, Washington, UCLA. I know you guys have that kind of one game part-time mentality. What comes to mind when you think of your next opponents?
Well, you know, we've said we want to be in the conversation for a national championship. So a lot of things come to my mind. You know, we're not stupid or oblivious to what's going on. I mean, I think you look at our conference as a really good conference. I think one poll has the number 1, 2, and 3 team in the country as, you know, people in our conference. So for us to do the things we want to do, you know, win a championship, a conference championship. I think also B, you know, getting to a regional and potentially hosting a regional. And it's not so much, I always say this even to our players, sometimes it's not what you're not doing, it's just somebody's doing it a little bit better. The way those teams are playing right now, you know, I would say if today they were making brackets today, we probably wouldn't be hosting today based on the way they're performing. That's the bad. The good part is we've only played one of those, and you know, I thought that series could have gone any direction. All 3 of those games probably came down to one swing of the bat, and Oregon State is who I'm referring to in that setting. So the good part is we play the other ones that we control our own destiny. So the fact that, you know, 2 teams that are ahead of us, UCLA and Stanford, you know what? The way we're looking at it, we control what happens on that. We go out and play good baseball and beat them. You know what? We're ahead of them. So it's nice to have that as opposed to having to rely on somebody else. So, and my feeling personally is we're going to have to do that anyway if we want to, you know, do some of the postseason stuff that, you know, that we aspire to. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity. Our challenge is not thinking that you got to do anything, you know, put a great deal of pressure or listen to the, you know, so-called experts on you have to do this, you have to do that. No, what you have to do is what you saw tonight is you have to throw strikes, you have to play defense, and you have to grind out at bats. The result will be what it's supposed to be. And sometimes, you know, sometimes you're going to win, sometimes you're going to lose. But if you can put yourself in the best position to win, that's all you can ask for. That was a very long answer, but you asked me.
Is it fun to see Torkelson kind of inch his way closer to Bishop?
You know, and that shows you how good he, you know, Mike earlier, we were talking about that. I mean, I think all of us, all of us in this room, were sitting around early part of the season like, what's wrong with Torkelson? What's wrong with Torkelson? And, you know, I think, you know, Mike, it just, I mean, now you look up, he's probably gonna get 20 home runs this year. That's not bad for a down year. You know, so it just shows you how consistent he is and how quiet. I mean, he's hitting 380, and it just doesn't, to me, it doesn't seem like that. And what's he have home run wise? 13. I mean, I wouldn't guess that, but you know, I just keep in my mind going, okay, Bishop was really kind of carrying us early in the season. Torkelson's picked up the slack a little bit. I mean, my vision is those two doing it at the same time when it really matters, and I would trade everything for that. And so that's kind of what we're looking for. He'll get it going again, Bish. Big hit tonight.
I know you're tweeting about it, but is there anything more you want to add just to the third assistant thing?
Yeah, sometimes my fingers get the best of me. It's just disappointing. I mean, it's disappointing on a lot of levels because, you know, our sport is taking a beating. It's just interesting to me when we, and I would say that the NCAA says, well, we don't want to do this because we don't want to set precedent, you know, it's not other sports. Well, you've already done it. I mean, we have so many unique rules and legislation set because of baseball. You're looking at a sport that has grown exponentially in the last few years, and it's a pretty, you know, I would say it's a nice revenue source for the NCAA, the College World Series, and you know, all the numbers and stuff that I see has grown. We have a disproportionate, this is what I think is the interesting piece that people aren't really talking about, is I think we botched the legislation piece of it, the request anyway. I think we requested it, but we felt like this was the best chance to get it through. Our student athletes don't have the same, the numbers in terms of player to coach. The legislation that failed didn't address that anyway. I mean, there's this, yeah, we wanted to pay the third coach, but they weren't gonna let us keep the volunteer coach. So it still didn't address the issue. I think, so I think it's just, you know, I think it's just disappointing because it's just another kind of slap at the sport. And I've talked to some ADs, you know, in our conference and others, and I think if we tighten up what we're asking for, I think we're more specific. And honestly, I think I'm always a believer in present the solutions before you present the problem, because I've heard conferences say, and this is where I didn't let my fingers get in the way. I heard conferences say it was an economic thing. Well, then my first thing I did is I went and looked at conference payouts and revenues on teams. So please don't tell me it's an economic thing. So I just think if we present a more detailed rationale, why we should do it, you know, our coaching profession too is very hard to get into. So I would love us to see us still keep the volunteer, you know, and that's maybe another argument. But to have guys, and I'll use our guy as an example, to have guys like Mike Early, who's made an impact on this program, and you know, and I'll go there because, you know, in a sense, I'll say I'm paying that guy out of my pocket. I mean, tell me another, and then the camp pocket. I mean, tell me another thing, and I'd love to ask some of these people to vote that way. Would you pay for someone else's salary out of your pocket? You know, and so if we want to keep that guy, one of the best in the country, in my opinion, we'll do whatever we need to do. But I think that's a little ridiculous rationale, and you know, I'm just disappointed. And so, but I don't want to say that's totally the fault. I don't know that we did a real good job of articulating, because that, as you know, the legislative cycle, we can vote on it and support it all day long, but then there's that gap between then making the people who really have the decision-making power understand. And you know, the fact that the vote takes place during the season, I think is a little problematic, because coaches are busy, you know, with their seasons, and they're maybe not getting time with their ADs. So I don't know, just really disappointed. But I don't think it's dead. I mean, you've seen already the public outcry on it happening. People, what do you mean it didn't pass? I think everybody assumed it was kind of going to pass. And you know, so I hope that we organize, we strategize, and we put a better effort on educating those who actually make the decisions why this is a good thing, and not just for baseball. I mean, you know, I understand the whole softball rationale. We need it. We need it. You know, and I don't begrudge other sports for the number of coaches. And good for them, man. Good for them. Just give us give us a portion of that, you know? And didn't happen this time, but we'll get it done. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.